a wonderful good afternoon to you from the KXAN Live studios. I'm Billy Gates, and this is, of course, the Horns Report. And with me, as always, KXAN Sports Director Roger Wallace. And Roger, let's get right to it. The UT men's team.
Do you want to just get it out of the way?
Yeah.
A week ago today,
Let's
we
just get it
sat
out of
here
the way.
and thought, I don't know how they can win at Tech, and not only do they do that, but then they obviously go on and beat Oklahoma State. But yeah, we saw effort out of them last week that we hadn't seen in a while on a consistent basis, both when they went on the road, and then I know that was a little bit up and down against Oklahoma State, but getting the job done.
Yeah, and this video you see is the last time they played Baylor, which is important because the Horns go up to Waco tonight to face Baylor. They moved up in the AP poll, I believe, like 2 or 3 spots. They're up number 11 now, and Texas still out of the top 25. But they got some votes this week after a pair of wins. Their first set of back-to-back wins since they beat Baylor and Oklahoma there in about mid-January or so. So, 2 games left to go in the Big 12 regular season for the men's team. They've looked pretty good the past couple games, what we've been talking about.
Yeah, I think right now they've gotten themselves off the bubble. They're still projected in that 8-9 area. Again, and I'll kind of say the same thing I said last Monday. Tonight's going to be really tough to go to Foster's Pavilion. Baylor's playing really well. You wonder how much that win over Kansas took out of them on Saturday, both physically and emotionally. But they're really good, and of course, this is their one chance to get Texas at their new home. And for Rodney Terry's club, probably playing, as you mentioned, with as much confidence as they did back when they played Baylor, knocked them off, and then had that huge road win at Oklahoma. So I'm not going to go out on a limb like I did last week, but they're going to have to play the same way, Billy, as they did, because I think both of us agree the way they played at Tech and the energy and the effort and the skill. I mean, you got to make shots, you got to do things. Max Acemus got clocked in the face, got cut up, and then all of a sudden he found his shot again. So you got to do that, but tonight you got to bring it against the Baylor team. Always great guards. They got the big freshman in the middle. So I'm fascinated to see how this one plays out. And for Texas' sake, you hope it doesn't go the way the last 2 highly ranked opponents on the road, where they just got run out against Kansas and Houston in the first 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, and we've been listening to Rodney Terry tell us for, I don't know, almost 2 weeks now that they've found a new sort of intensity in practices, that they've been kind of going at each other really hard now that they're healthy for the most part. Rodney Terry's been kind of reluctant to do that while they've been kind of recovering from some bumps and bruises. But now they're relatively healthy, and they're able to quote-unquote lace them up in practice. And I think when Coach Terry says lace them up, I mean, I think he really means it, and just kind of roll the ball out and let his guys go run around for a while.
Yeah, and when you have a guy like Kendall Weaver, who today was named Newcomer of the Week in the Big 12, I mean, I know he goes hard all the time, but when he's doing it in a game and he's producing, that might create a little different energy as well, as opposed to, okay, he's going all out in practice and he plays 12 minutes and isn't really productive. And so he's been kind of a new X factor for him. We've seen it off and on, but now it seems to be with a little more consistency.
Yeah, IT Horton got the start over Weaver against Oklahoma State, but Weaver comes in, scores 16 points, scores 11 straight points there kind of late in the second half to help Texas pull away from the Cowboys, when it was a little too close there early on. I have to think for Texas' liking against Oklahoma State, who hasn't been very good at all on the road. So Weaver's kind of explosion really sort of put the nail in the coffin there.
Yeah, but it kind of goes to the Big 12 though, because Oklahoma State has some decent wins. They're at home. Texas has had some stumbles at home. The biggest one, obviously, Central Florida. So I look forward to this. Big 12 tournament. Going, what's the point? I mean, they've just beaten the tar out of each other since late December, and now they're going to go to Kansas City. But I get it for all that it is. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they bring tonight, and then coming back home against Oklahoma, where regardless of tonight, if they win that one, they're guaranteed at least being 500 in the conference. That gets them, I think, comfortably, and maybe gets them off that 8 line down to a 7 line, so you avoid that if you can manage to get through the first round, one of the number 1 seeds.
Yeah, checked earlier today. Jerry Palm from CBS Sports, he had an updated bracket out. He took Texas up from a 10 line to a 9 line. playing FAU there in the first round.
Yeah, and I saw who they're opposite if they
old friend Rick Barnes.
Yeah, that's right. In Charlotte, no less.
Yeah. So, like we've said earlier on this show, there is a little bit of humor when folks are trying to set up mock
and why not?
Matchups here.
Because you can project the lines, but then to shuffle the deck to the extent of matchups, you might as well have a little fun projecting out. Obviously, you can't have conference matchups in the second round, but you can have some that certainly means something. Last year it came to fruition, but it didn't happen with Texas and Texas A&M potentially in the second round matchup.
Yes. So the men, they're up at Baylor tonight, 8 p.m. tip, ESPN, another big Monday matchup.
Last true road game of the season.
Last true road game of the season, yeah. That's true. And then they're back at home Saturday against Oklahoma to end the regular season, and then it's tournament time. Really, really fun time of year in basketball and college hoops here. So now let's get over to the women's. Let's see, pull up the video here. There we go. This is from the win over BYU on senior night last Saturday. So the women, they're already in their conference tournament. They start Saturday in the quarterfinals with the number 2 seed. They might end up playing BYU again.
Yep.
BYU and Kansas is the game that plays into Texas, and yeah, they could very well see the Cougars again.
Yeah, and obviously, if you look at the projections, the loss to Oklahoma was costly because it dropped them down to that number 2 seed in the projections, as opposed to last week they were a 1 seed. I don't know if I would have a huge problem if they're a 2 seed. If they win a couple of games in Kansas City, maybe. Depending on what happens, they could sneak back. But either way, they're going to be at home for the first 2 rounds, and they're almost certainly not going to be in a 4-5 second-round matchup like they were last year. And then, it's up for grabs. They have the format that they started last year where they're just 2 regional sites. And so if they can stay off that, if they can stay 1 or 2, looks pretty good for them to make a little run here, at least to the Sweet 16 or Elite 8, and see what they can do from there. But it's a team that Oklahoma kind of had their number this year. Like last year, they had OU's number.
Yeah, and they could get another shot at OU in the tournament championship game. Who knows what happens? I mean, Iowa State or Kansas State could get hot here coming up. Maybe Baylor gets hot from that 5 spot. So who knows?
Yeah, and if they get K-State, they see Lee for the second time.
Yeah,
Lee played in the win in Manhattan, didn't play when Texas won in Austin. So we'll see how that plays out as well. And again, they're staggering the tournaments now. The women get to move into the T-Mobile Center, so they get a little bigger stage to play on. But it also makes for 2 weeks basically of Big 12 action, or a week and a half, as opposed to everything being together and having to bounce back and forth between the 2 tournaments.
Yeah, so the women ended their season with that 1-point loss to Oklahoma on February 28th, 71-70. Very questionable travel call there at the end of Madison Booker that got a lot of people fired up. But in the end, you got to play better, so stuff like that doesn't really mix into the outcome of the game. And then they came home, took care of business against BYU, 71-46. And then they've got a little bit of time off until they play again. So we'll see how it works. They ended up dropping 3 spots in the AP poll down to number 6, released today. Obviously, I mean, throughout the entirety of the AP poll doesn't mean a ton, other than we think you're a pretty good team, so we're gonna put you amongst some of the other really good teams around the country. But
I am amazed that Oklahoma's still, what are they, 17 now?
I think they just went up to 19. I think they just went up 1.
So
because they lost to Kansas right after they beat.
That's true. That's true. And I will say about that, well, don't say there wasn't anything to play for because they beat Texas and got that outright title. I think because of where they are in seeding, I think they might be on the bubble to host, which is hard to imagine, the Big 12 regular season champ, if they don't get one of the top 16 seeds. So there was something to play for, and so it wasn't just they let their guard down because they didn't have anything to play for, like an NFL team when they have their seeding set in the playoffs. So I think they're vulnerable, and for some reason it just hadn't been a great matchup, even though both games were really close with Texas. And maybe that third time, if they get them in Kansas City, something will change. But they can't quite get what you would think would be the seeding and the recognition and the rankings that you would get from regular season champion. But you're right, I slipped my arm for 5 seconds about that Kansas loss. So
I gotcha.
yeah, that explains it.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, there's an old sports cliche where it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a season and all this stuff. So if they do meet for the conference tournament championship and there's an offensive foul that Madison Booker got away with against BYU,
they all even out, right?
He just shoved her in the chest to get open for a jump shot.
You know, I want to mention Hadisha Fai there, who's being honored on senior night. She was away from the team for a few weeks, and we remember she was a big productive addition to that front line, and so you know that's kind of gone unnoticed because you know out of sight, out of mind. But if she gets back into game shape and can give them 15, 17 minutes, the fouls, the defense, and the rebounding, that's also something they haven't had from her in about a month.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see, and that'll definitely come into play when they go against another team with size like Kansas State, like with Aoka Lee once she gets back into the fold. So the women kick off Saturday at the Big 12 Championships. That tournament technically starts on Thursday with all the lower seeds playing their playing games.
It's where if they win, they get a day off right away.
Yeah, because
Sundays.
Right. Sunday they don't play.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Saturday, Monday, Tuesday.
That's not is that a conference rule you don't play on Sunday?
I don't know. No.
Okay.
My guess is there's TV involved.
Probably.
There's not a good TV window.
Sure.
And then Monday, they're afternoon semifinal games. So again, strictly has to be a TV decision. Yeah. And then the championship games at 8 o'clock on Tuesday. So kind of odd. They're going to get all this time off. If they can take care of business, then they get the day off. Now, if they get upset, then K-State or somebody has a day, or the team that earned the right to play them, then they get 2 games in a day off. So that would be obviously beneficial.
Yeah, that would benefit BYU or Kansas if they ended up taking Texas out. So
yeah, we're talking about K-State.
Oh, right,
semifinal.
Yeah, in the semifinal, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
So,
there we go. So many Kansas teams.
Well, it's the format is because we're not used to this. This new format, the new timing of it, and you add extra teams, so you get that extra day.
Yes. And so that'll be a 5:30 game on Saturday for the Horns, either BYU or Kansas. And I believe the quarterfinals are on the Big 12 now on ESPN
Plus.
3, ESPN Plus, and then semifinals and finals are ESPN 2, I believe, if you're looking for
they're
watch them on TV.
One of them, for sure.
One of them. You just pick an ESPN and flip the channels and you find it. Alrighty, well that'll do it for this edition of the Horns Report. Thank you so much for watching. For Roger Wallace, I'm Billy Gates, and we will talk to you again very soon.